Kia ora, welcome back once again, everybody, here with another reaction to Mr. Kyle Morgan on the Shawn Ryan Show. I had done a piece at the intro at the start, then I zipped forward, done a few parts or sessions to the incident at the Radisson Blu Hotel. And now what I'm doing is I'm going back to the earlier part where Shawn starts to delve into their upbringing, or his guest's upbringing, in this case Kyle Morgan, and we'll start chipping away from here to complete this reaction. It's going to take me a heck of a long time, but if you're here for it and my reactions in regards to this incredible gentleman, then you've come to the right place. So let's jump back in.
But let's go ahead and start with the interview, but let's start a little earlier than 2015. Let's start back in 1984 when you were born. Where'd you grow up?
So I was born in Central Florida, a little town, Eustis, Florida. Probably lived there for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, and then we moved to upstate New York. So my dad's family's from upstate New York, and then all my mom's family's from Florida. But as a young adolescent, I mean, we moved, I don't know, 10 to 15 times by the time I left for, by the time I turned 18.
What kind of stuff were you into growing up?
So I could.
Hang on, sorry, just before he answers that question, I thought he was going to ask him, why did you move so often? 10 to 15 times, that's a heck of a lot of time to be moving around. Yeah, I wonder if he speaks about why that is anyway. So
I never could sit still. I was always like climbing on the window sills, from the way that my mother used to explain it. Yeah, imagine that. But it was a very, I did a lot of organized sports. That was like football, baseball, basketball, like from as soon as I could. So from 5 years old. So I enjoyed like the team aspects of those, and but then the stability piece just wasn't there as far as moving around. So I could never really plant my feet and like figure out who I was and who I wanted to be. And yeah, so as a young adolescent, I just, when I was younger, and then when things got a little harder with academia, and I was just like struggling, so I started acting out and, looking for attention. And it was easier because we'd go from one school to another, and I'd be the new guy or whatever, and I could just start over,
Yeah.
But that played into a lot about, by at 10th grade in high school, I think I got kicked off the football team because of my GPA got too low, below like a 2.0. And I was just like, okay, roger that. So I just started like, all right, I guess football's not going to happen. I mean, that was my passion. And so then I just started, focusing on all the things that would instant like gratification. And, oh, you like me, don't you? Yeah, I'm cool. That was my sense of self. Like it had been nurtured in an environment where like no one showed me. I wasn't developed like by a positive male role model or female.
Well, sorry to cut in there. There's lots of stuff in there, and my mind's just going all over the place listening to him. But especially that last piece there, I might just start there. That it's always hits me when I hear people, not just like the Kyle Morgans of the world, other people that have never served in the Defence Force. I've had the privilege to work with those in when I was serving in the reintegration space here, working with former prisoners, and just the challenges that many of them have been through, and hearing a lot of similar and consistent themes about their household, their upbringing, that cycle of what they've witnessed and what's happened, not having a positive male role model or a father around. I can connect and resonate and relate to that. Being raised by a single mum who was home not very often because she was working multiple jobs for the most part to support her and I and pay for our housing corporation home and put food on the table and clothes on my back and get me to school and do all the other things that parents do on our own, I can connect in some small way to what Kyle is speaking about. I don't know if that's the case whereby he didn't have his parents around, or whether there just wasn't that opportunity to connect as much as they would have liked. Sort of maybe similar to what DJ Shipley shared in regards to just wanting to be with his dad and spend time with him. The other parts that stand out, which I never experienced, but just that transient sort of move, that's huge. And to a small degree, not that I can resonate with that, but I can understand where he's coming from, because we upsticks our family from Perth, Western Australia, to move back to New Zealand because I was missing home and I wanted to come home, and I'm so glad that I'm home here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. I was always going to come home anyway, but everything happens when it's meant to happen. So I was really missing home, spoke with my wife. She's always been supportive and said, well, you better get a job then. So I did, and then long story short, we come back home, which is awesome. The move for our children, to then pick them up, to come over, resettle into a new school, their whole life was over in Perth, Western Australia. That's where 5 of the 6 children are born. That's where all their friends are. That's where their connections are. That's the ground and the terrain that they're familiar with. Significant moves. They're needing to start again. Then we move from Auckland to Wellington, and then we've still got 3 children in school out of the 6. We pick them up and move again. And it's just, yeah, it's a challenge. Things that I personally didn't factor in properly. I just went, they'll be all right. You know, they're kids. Again, very selfish of me in terms of my thought process and that. But I'm really pleased that they have been adapting, and that they have adapted well, and that they appear to be doing the things that they're wanting to do. But listening to him speak about that, yeah, there's some information there that anybody could hopefully draw from and take, and maybe apply, and just try to be more considerate. Not that I was, but try to be on reflection now. I could take this and try to be more considerate going forward, and or maybe have better information or more knowledge now, thanks to people like Kyle sharing their story, for when I, one day speak with my children, and they one day bless their mother and I with grandchildren. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But yeah, anyway, those are my thoughts right now.
It was very chaotic, and
How?
like the stability piece like creates chaos in itself, and then that with like just the normalization of behaviors, and I just watched and was either a part of. My mother abused my father, and my father just verbally, physically would drink himself into just to isolate himself in the garage or whatever. And it was just like, to me, I just saw that as what he just doesn't want to be here, and but one thing I will say is he never left. He put up with all of that, and it was just raged and like just jealousy and codependency and all these things that now mind you, this is me. I've been 38 years later, I'm looking back with the lens I've been shown and are put on, and it's in hindsight. I mean, it's not for a child to have to make sense of that shit, and it's unfair, but it also is just a part of my story. And it's but I will say I lived my life even as a young father. Well, no, you guys don't have it this bad. You don't have it that bad. You don't know what bad is,
Yeah.
And that's just not a way to parent, and I feel like I held my head for
So I got to jump in there, man. That's I have 100% done exactly what he's just spoken about there with my children. Hey, back in my day, mum did this, I got this, and can slip, slap, slop, whatever the case might be in terms of upbringing at home. It's just hit the nail on the head. I love what he shared there. That's not the way to parent, and I've been guilty of that 100%. Hits, man. It hits me anyway in terms of just having this moment, and this is why I genuinely enjoy this, and why I'm glad that I just made the decision after having the conversation with my mate who was struggling with employment to just go, you know what, I'm just going to do this. I don't know how it's going to go. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to do this. And there's so much knowledge and information that I have the privilege to take from people like this that give their interviews. When he spoke about not only that that's not the way to parent, but his dad, well, massive respect to his parents. I can't speak for what it must have been like to witness and see and feel and hear all of that stuff going on. I think I heard him mention that his dad was the recipient of the abuse, like verbal abuse from his mum, I think is what he said. Apologies if I got that wrong. I'm not going to rewind it back, but I think that's what I heard. Because then he then said, to his dad's credit, or words to this effect, that his dad never left. And that must have taken a heck of a lot of strength, courage. Just my take speaks to the character and integrity of that particular individual, of Kyle's father, because that's not easy for anybody. If anybody wants to start getting abused or feels that they have to put up with that, they don't have to. But if that's what was happening, and if that's the lens, unfortunately, that Kyle had to view what was happening with his parents through, A, no child should ever have to experience that. B, parents have, this is me speaking to myself as well, parents have a responsibility to try to be better, to try to communicate better. I've shared on other videos my struggles with communicating. So I'm taking this information right here and here, just like I did with DJ and his father's connection. And I've gratefully been able to take that and speak with our other daughter, where the relationship wasn't as strong as what it was with my other 5. And it's going great right now. So taking another piece of information, grabbing another nugget, going to try to be more cognizant and conscious of that and what I do, how I speak. I'm still going to make mistakes within our household. I don't know about your household, but we still make fun of each other in a lighthearted way. We will tease each other. That's what we do. I don't know about your family, and I'm not saying that that's the right thing to do, but that is something that we have done for the longest time. Since we've been together, my wife and I will tease each other and make fun of each other, but in a joking way. So yeah, just a lot of points of reference for me in listening to this early stage of Kyle's upbringing. So I'll jump back into the video.
Minimizing my own behavior in front of them, and that's the part where I'm really I really want to change that, that narrative, that break those generational norms and my legacy. And I can, and I am.
Were you into hunting or
what? Girls. That was about it. Yeah. That was my
girls and booze.
Yeah, that was it, man. And I say that loosely because, or not loosely, but I guess it was, my sense of self was, oh, you think I'm good looking, or I look how good I did, because I was physically fit. And those were the escapes, for me to say, well, all right, I'm just this scared little boy inside, afraid of his own shadow.
Wow. Sorry, that put a big smile on my face to hear him say that, but just, this guy's really honest, eh? Very transparent and open. Did you do any hunting or anything from Shawn here? Hunting girls? It's amazing to me, the people that have confidence to be like that, to hunt girls in this case. I definitely didn't have any of that confidence. I didn't hunt no girls, and there were no girls hunting me either. So just hearing him, and I guess what I'm picking up on is just the confidence that he must have had. Maybe it was because of the transient nature and of his upbringing and his family moving from place to place, and maybe he was of the mindset, oh, it doesn't really matter if nothing happens, well, we're going to move anyway, and then I can just start again. Maybe that attitude, I don't know, but far out to have that confidence and go, yep, out there hunting girls in terms of the language that was used just now. Really put a smile on my face. Interesting upbringing.
No, there's a lot of people growing up in the world like that, with a dysfunctional family, moving around a lot. And there's going to be a lot more now that Roe versus Wade has been overturned. It's going to be a lot of kids in poverty.
Mhm.
So looking back, if it's yourself, do you have any advice for kids that are growing up in a situation that's similar or worse than yours?
Yeah, you're not alone. Period. Like there is positive role models out there that want to show and to show you and to hold your hand through your developmental phase. It's just more people like myself and that I'm trying to need to step up and just take ownership of that as well, because like there's obviously my children that I have to change and work through, but I can also be there for their friends and the friends of friends. And that's the opportunities that I have now. And I'm just so grateful for, because I can focus on it. My priorities it's a complete shift of I've been so focused for 20 years on combating terrorism abroad. There's a lot of work to do here inside of our own borders. And that's what I'm focused on. And it starts at the household. It starts at positive male role models. We don't have those anymore.
So
Whoa. Sorry, I got a lot in that, eh? First of all, I love the question, big question, heavy question. You might have seen me take a big sigh when he asked that question. I was like, whoa, that's a heavy question. But I loved his very first initial response. You're not alone. There are, and I've been talking about that on my channel for a little bit now around, it might seem more sunshine and roses, people, for others when we may be caught scrolling and looking through other people's feeds or whatever. But I guarantee you they've got some stuff going on which we just don't know about and which we can't see. And I'm no exception to that. Got some challenges and stuff which I have, which everybody else has. Anybody watching this has got challenges that they're going through. They may be different to mine, but they're unique, they're special, they're important, they're powerful, they're heavy for you. And those are difficult. So we're not alone. We're connected in that sense. Then when he spoke about the need for positive male role models, bloody hell, male role models in our area or within our homes, he spoke about it needing to start within the home. 100% agree. It all starts in our home. It's our job to educate our children. It's not the school's job. School has a part to play, but everything starts within our home, and it can start with the basics. Being disciplined, turning those ears on, listening with your taringas and being respectful, doing as you're told or as you're asked, putting in the time, effort and energy. We need to be teaching all of this stuff within our own homes and not relying on the teachers to make our children good at maths or good at English or able to understand science. Yes, they have that part and that responsibility to a large degree when they're spending however many hours at school they spend. But a lot of that I can support, even though I'm not very good at maths, even though I'm not very good at English or science or the other subjects that take place in schools these days, or even back in my time. I still have a responsibility and can still help with regards to trying to advise or nurture or give tips. And so I've been lucky, been able to spend some time with one of our youngest children and just showing her some tips and things on the use of technology that could potentially help her with regards to her studies and being able to take information on. And so those things, although I'm not a school teacher that has the qualifications to deliver those certain subjects, I can provide a heck of a lot of support and guidance within my home. So I love that he's spoken about that and how he's spent more than 20 years fighting terrorism overseas. And there's a heck of a lot of work that we can do within our own borders, within his borders there in the United States, within our borders here, within Aotearoa, and same in Australia and everywhere else. It's a beautiful thing to hear. But we can also have platforms like this and like the Shawn Ryan Show and like many other awesome platforms out there where you can have guests like this who are willing to be honest and vulnerable and have the courage to share about some of their experiences. Put that out there for the world to hear, see and feel, and hopefully we can grab bits and pieces of that and apply it in our own lives and hopefully get some better outcomes for ourselves, within our own families, and hopefully that can branch out to other people outside of that smaller group that we might start off with. So loving the conversation of what these guys are having, the questions, and just Kyle's responses to them. Yeah, there's a lot of people struggling and hurting right now, and that will continue to be the case. And like Shawn mentioned, there's going to be a lot more hurt and stuff that will happen and come up, no doubt. And what can we do to just try to be, I suppose, a little bit more mindful of our conduct, our behavior, and what we do, our actions to genuinely uplift and try to support others. Awesome conversation so far. So yep, still got time.
Are you saying these kids need to seek out a positive male role model?
Well, it's not on them. It's like us.
Well, I'm saying for the kid.
Yeah, like they
what is
just
your
know
advice
that
for the kids?
there is good people out there, and what you're like, it's not on them. Like the environments that they're like raised in, and situational, like I don't blame children for growing up in mud huts and radical extremism. I don't blame them. I don't blame children that grow up in poverty and around drugs and alcohol and abuse. And they are the definition of innocence.
Yeah,
like they are. At a certain point, that becomes their reality, right? Like and then they step into society, and that's just their reality. But for me, it's about challenging other male role models to step up and like seek out these this is our societal. If we want to make a change,
be a good example.
And that's just like showing people what right looks like.
Yeah.
Like,
I love this conversation. I'm going to pause this here and look to finish up because I've just got a lot of stuff here and here that's going on for me as I listen to Kyle and to Shawn. 100% agree with what Kyle's talking about and the responsibility that we can take as adults to try to seek out and help and support in any way. And some of the ways that we can do that is through the use of technology and that sort of thing. So I'm grateful for that. Hopefully, if I remember, I'll talk a little bit about how this small channel of mine is doing some of that, which wasn't intended, but I'm super stoked that it's happening. The other part, which you may have picked up on, is Shawn trying to get from Kyle his thoughts on what can young people do, what can the children that are in those situations, born into poverty, maybe not necessarily born into extremism, but born into poverty and born in difficult circumstances and situations. What I'm getting from Shawn, he's trying to ask Kyle, is what can the young people do for themselves? And that's tough. That's a heavy question, because you want to be sensitive and careful, as do I, about what you say, how you present it, how you deliver it. I don't have all the answers, but some of the things based on people that I've met and things that are well publicized, or things that are documented anyway on the internet with people, young people that have had hardships, that have had this upbringing. Like if I use David Goggins just as an example, and also the American Navy SEAL, Harvard medical doctor, now astronaut, sorry I forget his name right now, but I've got to do a reaction to some of his stuff because he's just awesome. These two guys, just right off the bat, had terrible upbringings based on the bits and pieces that I've heard about their situation and stuff that they've spoken about. Very, very easy, could have been very, very easy for them to make a decision to just stay down that route, continue that type of cycle, end up in a relationship, subject their child or their children to that type of environment because that was normal for them. That's what they endured. That's what they found. The cycles here in Aotearoa and many other places are no different. Drug and alcohol abuse, physical violence, including sexual violence and stuff that has happened for sadly, for many young people within their homes by the people that are supposed to love, protect, and care for them the most, and including their extended family that should be that wraparound korowai to keep them safe. That can be, I can't relate to that. I've been fortunate, very, very blessed that I haven't had that happen to me. Get a few hidings, but that was just normal as a child growing up in my time. But nothing like that type of stuff that many people have endured. And that I cannot relate or comprehend the type of trauma and heartache that is for that individual, and how hard that must be. I can't. It's not my place to try to. I don't feel it's my place to say, and I wouldn't, to try to say, just harden up, bro. Just go do this. That, I should get a crack in the head if I said something like that to somebody that's been through things like that. But coming back to what I was talking about with David Goggins and the astronaut, medical doctor, Navy SEAL, their upbringings, they made a choice. That's one thing that stands out to me. So if there were any young people that are struggling, that have got some difficult times ahead, you're going to continue to have difficult times. It's not going to be sunshine and roses for the rest of your life. You'll have moments where you'll have really great periods, and then you're going to have some grey/dark times, and then you're going to need to try to find a way to pull yourself and climb your way back out of that. Speaking to a younger cohort right now, but it might be helpful for some of the older generation or older people, only as old as you feel really, to hear. But there is 100%, there is some responsibility and accountability that we can take on board for ourselves, whether we're old or whether we're young. So speaking to those young, from my 2 cents, trying to grab the positive out of a situation can be especially a challenging, difficult, traumatic situation, can be extremely, extremely difficult. I don't deny that. But it doesn't change the fact that we still have the opportunity, that you still have the opportunity, if you want it, to try to make a change, to try to move in a positive direction and steer away from that darker path or that unclear path, that uncertain path. There's still going to be uncertainty in whichever way you decide to go, but you can choose to move towards a more happier, more positive environment. We can choose to move towards something that you've seen that you inherently and intrinsically know doesn't feel right, doesn't look right, doesn't sound right, and in your heart know shouldn't be happening. You can 100% make that decision and choice to go that way. Or you can choose a different path. Choose to be stronger than that. Choose to have the courage to step into a more positive direction, even though the hurt and trauma that you've experienced is still there. You never forget it. It's still there as that strong reference point, and hopefully as a reminder of what you don't want to go towards, because you don't want to inflict that, whatever it may be, onto somebody else, and instead choose to do something else which will be more positive and hopefully have a greater lasting legacy and impact. So that's my 2 cents in and around that. There's a heck of a lot more that I could say, but I'm just mindful of the time. I'm really appreciating, like I said, the learning and stuff from here, and I hope that you can take something away from it as well. I've rambled on enough. I really appreciate everybody's time once again. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for turning up each day. Thank you for staying in the fight. Thank you for the kind messages and comments. They fill my cup. They warm the heart more than you know, more than you realize. And they are very, very uplifting, at least for me. And so I know that your messages that you send can and will be uplifting and helpful for others. So thank you for sharing your time and experience, your knowledge, your expertise. Thank you for sharing your opinion, even if it's contrary to mine or differs from mine. 100% it is welcome here. And go always a little further. And remember, who dares wins. Love and appreciate you all. Thank you very much. And until the next video, big man away from me to you.